We're live, I believe.
Yeah, they're good.
We are live.
Cool.
So here we are again for one of our power sessions. These are spontaneous talks where unscripted, where Jamie and I talk about a specific topic and often have a guest. I'm not sure if even when we put the invitations out, it probably was too late, but we did have a guest coming today who was Chazz. Chazz wasn't able to join us at the last minute. He had an urgent project that just needed his attention. So he's rescheduled. We'll get Chazz on for another topic at another time. Yeah. And we're really looking forward to that.
Yeah. Yeah. So our topic today is the visibility vortex. So there's probably a whole lot that we could talk about around that.
Could we ever? Yeah. This idea of visibility. And I love that phrasing too. I mean, I know it's kind of, I wouldn't call it schmarmy, Jamie, but I
wouldn't either.
I would call it a good title, the visibility vortex, because it is. You get caught in this vortex, and we've all been there. Yeah. And this idea that how come I'm showing up everywhere all the time and nothing's moving? Nobody's attracted to me. I'm not getting clients. And I love how Jamie put this. I think you wrote this. Kind of subtext to it was, you're not underexposed, you're underaligned.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's really cool. And this idea that, and for me, I've been exploring this a lot myself personally, as a coach, as a professional, as a business owner. This idea between being present, so presence, versus performance. And it's been really revelatory for me to kind of explore that and journal on that and give that thought in terms of, for example, that's the purpose of these meetings and these podcasts and many podcasts, obviously, and that's why we're attracted to podcasts, is typically on a podcast or on these meetings, we're present, we're in presence because we're unscripted, so we're not performing.
Yeah.
And I think that it strikes me as I started to work through that language and that concept, it really strikes me as how often people are thinking that they're performing, right? So it's almost like a mask. I've got to put on this performance. And if I put on a good enough performance, my phone will start ringing.
Right.
Right.
If I have just the right script, if I have just the right words, and I'm saying, like, people really do take a lot of time. I know, because I used to do that, like really take a lot of time and like rehearse it and, look in the mirror. And I would have like my laptop back across the room, and I would have like, oh gosh, I used to move my mouse on the side of my hip here just to like roll through like a teleprompter app.
Yeah.
Right. And so everything just had to look right and be right. And now look, just show up and talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's about having the right kind of message to the right audience. That's what we're kind of getting at around all of this.
Yeah. It's the right topic. And that's important. Do your homework, know who you're speaking to, but then without the polish.
Yes.
So the performing, the polish is what I think intuitively, even in our gut, turns us off. We all get this, this image, if you will, that gets projected, right? Here's the image I want you to see. But we're all wise to that. Like, that's, I think, as human beings, regardless of the environment, business coaching, or just in our personalized dating with family, it doesn't matter. It's the real self, the authentic self that we're craving. Yeah. That idea. And again, that's the idea of being present. So you think about this in personal relationships, if you go to, and I know myself, I mean, I'm hypercritical of this stuff as well. Like if I go to a social event or whatever, it always strikes me how rare it is that somebody is really present. Usually everybody's performing. And then when you go to talk to somebody, you can tell, and everybody's heard this before, they're not really listening. You can see the eyes are glazed over. They're just waiting for their turn to speak.
Yeah.
Or another aspect is it's confrontational in terms of they're listening for something to disagree with.
Mm-hmm.
So that idea of performance, why? Because I think it boils down to a self-esteem issue, is that I maybe the only way that I've been taught, or that I look, and let's face it, in society right now, in the global, we'll call it the zeitgeist, that's a buzzword. It was pretty popular a few years ago. It's coming back around again. Is we look at our public figures, and it's almost like everybody's looking at that saying, well, that's the way I need to be. Right? I need to be that aggressive, dominant, disagreeing, performing buffoon in order to get acknowledged. Sad. But I think
Yeah.
the more we see that, the more we crave authenticity. And that's our big buzzword, right? And I don't think it's a buzzword. I think it's reality, is we really crave that authenticity.
So I'm going to put out a question that I'm sure people in the audience are thinking. We've got a few people watching, and feel free to post any comments or questions. We'll address them. But why is it that people out there, coaches especially, I'll speak to our audience,
Mhm.
they spend a lot of time posting and sharing content and like being visible, because that's what their coaches are telling them. You got to be visible. You got to be visible, and that's important. We also talk about that consistency piece.
Sure.
But why isn't it like landing, and people are not? It's not translating into business for them. So
Yeah.
why is that? I mean, I
Yeah.
have some thoughts on that, but I'll just throw that out there as like a question that people probably want to know the answer. Why am I posting and nothing's happening?
Yeah. And we'd love to have participation from anybody that is like, why do you think that is? Jamie will certainly share our perspective. I mean, I think it's this idea that we just kind of talked about, is this idea of authenticity. So instead of being the authentic self, we're performing to what? Chase, oh, I want it to go viral. If I can only get 20,000 likes on this post, if it would only go viral, that idea, like,
Yeah.
what a load of crap, right? The idea of,
Yeah.
I'm only somebody if it goes viral. And I think there's another side to it too. I think there's an underlying fear. One of my, I mention him all the time. Jamie knows, for decades now, one of my mentors and coaches, and somebody I feel deeply connected to when it comes to values and beliefs around business and growth and watching the journey, is Rich Sheffrin. And I remember hearing Rich say this a long time ago, that, and I'm sure Rich read it somewhere too, like we all, is there really any original information? I know Rich is a crazy, voracious reader, and I am too, but not even close to his level. But this idea that which is most personal is most general. I think he shared that with me like 20 years ago. And I thought, wow, that, like, I still to this day think about that. And I think it's this idea that, who am I? Again, it comes back to self-esteem. Who am I? Oh, I feel this way. It's not important. It doesn't have value. Nobody else is experiencing this or feeling this way. So therefore, I'll keep it to myself, and I'll try and, again, put on the facade. So it's that fear of being vulnerable. It's that fear of saying something and thinking that it doesn't have value, when in fact it does. And that kind of circles back to authenticity again, is that when we share those moments of ourselves, our true selves, that's when people identify.
True. So what about the people who are confident? They have the self-confidence enough to put themselves out there. Because I talk to a lot of people and I look at their posts and I go, well, they are posting, like this before a consult. I'll go, well, they're posting, but they're meeting with me because nothing's happening around that. Like, okay, so they're posting diligently. They could be every day throwing content out there. And so it's not a self-esteem issue. It's more, I'm putting stuff out there, but it's not landing, or it's not converting.
Yeah.
And what I want to say to that, what I believe from what I've seen anyway, from as I do my research on people that I meet with, is that they're kind of talking to a very broad audience. They're not really focused on what we call, and Seth Godin gave the term, minimum viable audience. I just feel like so many people are just kind of putting it out there. So when I meet with them and I say, who do you help? And it's, we joke around about it. I'll say it as we say it every time. Anybody with a pulse and a credit card. So that's who they're speaking to. So there's a disconnect between what your message is and how it's going to land to who it's going to land, most importantly.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I've seen as the overarching theme of, I'm posting, but it's not resonating because your audience is too big. It's not minimum enough to really get people to want to take that action. Because when you're serving the masses like that, it's really hard. If you understand your minimum viable audience and what they truly struggle with, then you could speak directly to that. So lacking that, I feel like that is a big missing piece for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's kind of my stand on the whole
visibility. I think that's a huge piece, Jamie. That's
Yeah.
a, such a big piece and such a great observation. What comes to mind is, I think he just passed away recently. Cliff Clavin or whatever from Cheers.
Oh, right.
Remember Cliff? So Cliff had an opinion on everything, right?
Yeah.
And you think about that character, and then is that the way you're writing? Are you writing, are you, I call it upchucking on people. Like, I have an opinion on everything, and therefore you're
diluted.
You're diluted because you're trying to be everything to everybody. And as a result, you're nothing to anybody because you're like the Cliff that just go, oh, tune him out because he just has an opinion about everything. And that, comes back to the minimum viable audience, who you're speaking to. So one day you're speaking to, I'll give you a practical example because we had this conversation on a call not long ago. Is I'm speaking to healthcare executives, in other words, people in the executive suite, the controllers, the managers, and everything. I'm speaking to doctors. I can't remember what it was, and I'm speaking to nurses. That's my audience. I've got it dialed in. I'm speaking to healthcare, and we kind of had this discussion around. Wait a minute. Do you think that if you're talking to all three of those, that they all have the same needs, wants, and values? No. They all have very different perspectives on their work and what they need in that moment in time. So back to your point on minimum viable audience, if you're throwing content out and 1 week it's to the CEO of the hospital, and the next it's to the maternity nurse, and the next it's to, the orthopedic surgeon.
Yeah.
Total disconnect, right? How can, and then it's, whoa, what's this about? And all of a sudden you become irrelevant.
Yeah.
Right.
And then also, like, what is it that you're trying to get across, and what is the action that you want them to take after they consume your content? That's another biggie. Like, that I always see as a big missing piece. I mean, it's, people will consume it and then they're like, that was nice. I'm glad I read that. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot of steps in there that are missing that, really people aren't really grasping onto and taking advantage.
And based on, if you don't have a framework or a model and you haven't learned that, then your gut reaction is going to go down a path, right? And in most cases, we talk about this, is one of the models that we created and use, and I'll give ourselves credit because we did create it. It's called the WEO model. And one of the things we observe is that when people are putting out content, that we see, by the way, the WEO stands for warm, engage, educate, and offer. And how are you balancing your content? And what we see over and over again, because Jamie and I are on there every day. I mean, we're looking at LinkedIn profiles, we're observing people, and we're also obviously coaching and making corrections. But what do we see? Offer. And it's like you're getting hit over the head. And we get emails constantly as well. And we get messages right on LinkedIn. By the way, you're not alone if you're getting hammered every day with messages. You stick your head out into the space, into a networking environment. Well, you better be prepared to network. If not, get the hell off of the platform. That's a pet peeve of mine, by the way, is people that get mad on LinkedIn when when I reach out to them to connect with them. And sometimes I'll get nasty and I'll say, why don't you just leave? Because this is a networking environment. It's a community here. And if you're not going to play in the sandbox, then get out of the sandbox. Go to another playground. Anyhow, I digress. But the idea of offer is often the default pattern that people go to. So we look at profiles and we look at, well, let me get a sense of this person. Let me look at what they're posting. And we'll look at their posts and it'll just be, I've got this event, I'm selling this. I got this event, I'm selling this. I got this event. And it'll just be a dozen of them in a row. And then you can see the gap and you go, oh, well, the last one they posted was 6 weeks ago or 2 months ago. No wonder. And then you look below that, it was offer for about 2 months, and they gave up. And they went, well, nobody's buying. This stuff doesn't work. Nobody wants coaching anymore. This has all just been a sham. I put out offers, every day for 2 months, and not one person reached out to me. Well, think about that. How are you communicating? We have the WEO model. I also like Scott Olford's approach. Scott Olford has a very diverse approach too, where he talks about the idea of being relevant, and that the way you become relevant is by being a real person. So you post, you're going to post offers, but you're also going to post stories about yourself so that people get to know you, about your values and where you come from. You're going to post stories about maybe your family. You're also going to post stories about business. You're going to post case studies. You're also going to post valuable content. Say, hey, here's an idea. Here's a concept. Try this. Use this in your business and see what happens. So that idea of diversity, and then tying that back, Jamie, to what you're talking about, particularly to a minimum viable audience, then you've got powerful communication happening, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Really, really cool stuff. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there.
No, so true. So true. So it's, and we talk about that WEO, that last O, that offer. People think, oh, I need to go and offer my methodology, right? So I see that a lot too, is that people are going, I have this special method. We have a method too, right? The upscale method, but that's not how we kind of attract people. Nobody cares about our method. They don't know anything about us or why they should even care about that. So marketing your methodology or your program or whatever is not the desired outcome that people want.
Yes.
You can speak to that as well. So speaking to that they want and understanding your audience. We talk about it intimately. You have to know what's keeping them up at night. What is that? And how can you speak to that? And how can you kind of tell a story that would resonate with them? Like they go, I could see myself in that story.
Yeah.
I could see myself. And
yes, their wants and needs, not yours. Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
The other one I know, which is a pet peeve for Jamie and I too, is and this is not certification bashing at all. It's just like our WEO model. Our WEO model is a template. It's a framework that is in our toolbox to help us serve our clients so they can get better results. Bottom line. But we wouldn't come out and start saying, want to buy our WEO model? Want to buy our WEO model? No, we want to look for what is the outcome that they're looking for. Where are they stuck? Where's the friction for them? What goal are they trying to achieve and they can't achieve it? What pain are they having? Where are they stuck? That they can't make that go away. That's what we want to speak to in our particular minimum viable audience, so that there's resonance there, and that people say, yeah, I am, that is something that is bothering me, or I'm thinking about, and I want to do something about it. But the idea, we often talk about this idea, everybody's heard this old one, is nobody actually really is interested in a drill bit. Nobody wants a drill bit. What do they want? They want a hole. Right? If I don't need a hole, you can market drill bits to me all day long. I'm not going to go out and buy a bunch of drill bits and fill my toolbox with drill bits because I don't have a need for a hole.
Yeah.
And in the same light, just to kind of tie back to what I was saying about certification.
Go back to that. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to loop back to that, is this idea of so many people lead with their, like, as you put it, Jamie, with their methodology. So let's say emotional intelligence. I've been trained in that. I'm certified in that. So they're writing all about that. But how many people are walking around their office or sitting at their desk or online trying to get work done and going, you know what I really need right now? I've been waking up at night and I need emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
No, they're not. That language is not. I need, how many people are looking online going, I need somebody that's certified in, I don't know, ICF. I need a ICF certified coach. I need a John Maxwell certified coach. Nobody, that's not a need, want, or a value to anybody.
Right.
It's the outcome that they're looking for, that training, that specialization, that certification that gave you that expertise, you're going to be able to apply to help them get what they're looking for.
Yes, that tool.
Start talking about your certifications and your trainings and everything, and start talking to the needs, wants, and values of your audience. That would be kind of how I would sum it up, if you will.
Yeah, well, somebody might be looking for an ICF certified coach because maybe they met one day and then somebody said, oh, you need somebody that's certified. So then you go to like LinkedIn and you go, let me type in ICF certified coaches. You know how many hundreds of thousands, if not millions, will come up? Like a lot. So then, what are people basing their decision on? It's usually around price. So then you become a commodity. We talk about this all the time. So you might have heard us talk about this before, but when you're leading with that and your content is around, I've got my certification and all of that. And again, Mark and I are very clear. We're not bashing certification. Great if you got it. Awesome. If you're planning on getting it, great. We support you in that. But it's not what's going to move the needle in your business. It's really not. It's a tool in your toolbox.
Yeah.
Now, I know you and I have talked about there are exceptions to that. There are some coaches who have to have a certain certification in order to work with a certain type of company. I think though there are some exceptions, so we want to make sure that we acknowledge that.
Yeah, especially often if you're in the consulting arena, but also in the coaching too, where if you're working in a corporate environment where you're applying, if you will, to contracts or offers that are out there. Hey, we want to hire, and you have to have these qualifications. I would suggest that there's a lot of pain and suffering in that area, because again, what is that HR department or we're trying to do? Commoditize you. They're trying to say, we want to take all the personality out of this and we want to boil it down to, these factors. What do they charge? What's their certification? How many years of experience? And to me, I don't want to play in those, and I don't want to play with those kind of people, because those kind of people to me are, and no fault to they've been trained to commoditize everything so that they can make a non-emotional decision that's based purely on numbers. So, that comes back to, and we could go on off on a tangent there, but that comes back to, let me see if I can loop that back to the topic, is visibility is, are you speaking to the true decision maker? And if you're speaking to the true decision maker, I would suggest to you that the true decision maker, if you're speaking their needs, wants, and values, and their burning desires of what they want, then all of that other stuff goes out the window. And we hear that over and over again. How many times, and I'm sure if we had some guests on here that were in that field, they would say, yeah, and by the way, I've heard the story, and I played that game in my previous life, if you will, is how many times you go, I did everything right. I filled out, I got all of the things. I checked all the boxes for them. And then they hired this other guy and he had none of that stuff. As a matter of fact, they gave him a plane ticket and flew him in from LA. And what happened to all the qualifications that needed to happen? Well, guess what? That guy that flew in from LA, he was a marketer. He knew how to communicate to the true needs and to the true decision makers. And how many times some coaches and consultants got undercut, by somebody who blew past all of that, didn't even worry about it, but went straight to what? The true desire. And that comes back to your point about the minimum viable audience, Jamie. If you don't understand your audience intimately, is what we talk about. The idea of getting intimately involved, in a sense, knowing them better than they know themselves.
I was going to say that, yeah.
Then if you don't have that piece, then you are creating noise. Then your content will just be more litter in the internet.
At 2 a.m. when they're waking up and they go, how did you know? How did you know I'm experiencing that? At 2 o'clock in the morning, I am struggling with that. And I didn't even put that into words. And here you are speaking it to me in your content.
Yes.
So, visibility without a structure, without a plan is not going to do it. You could be visible all you want. You can get all the likes and all of that, but if it's not resulting in business, then there's a disconnect somewhere big.
Yeah. And another word that comes to mind is without the work. And that's what Jamie and I see over and over again, is people just kind of many people who are struggling just want to spew their opinions and their ideas out there. And I don't blame them. They don't know what they don't know. They're excited. They think the world needs this. I'm so excited. I can't, I got to get the word out, got to get the word out. Why isn't it resonating with people? Because you have to put that out there through the lens of your prospective client. And that idea of doing the work, you got to do the research. You got to figure out what is it that they really want? What's underneath that? And what's underneath that? And who is the real decision maker here? And am I speaking to the right person? And am I speaking in their language? And Am I speaking to their needs, wants, values, their deepest desires? And do that homework, figure that out. Then take your opinion, your ideas, what you want to do, your formulas, your methodology, and communicate that through that lens and watch what happens.
Yeah. And there's one other thing I was just thinking of is that, you could put content out there all you want, but if you're not growing your audience, like, let's think about that for a minute. Because I do look at a lot of people and I see, they have just maybe 200 connections on LinkedIn, and yet they're posting every day. And I'm thinking, well, who is really seeing your content? So that's another big piece. I mean, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole because we're about to wrap up, but I just wanted to put that out there for anybody who's questioning, how come I'm posting every day and not much is happening? Nobody's seeing my posts, It's usually it's that visibility problem in the fact that you may not be growing your audience. And that's the key. So it's understanding who you're serving, that minimum viable audience, what you're offering, that irresistible, compelling offer, and how you speak about getting them to be interested in that, and also growing your audience so that you're getting more and more people in your network that can see your stuff and can even refer you to people. If they're not the right person, they can refer you. So there's a lot of strategy around it that, a lot of people are not catching on to, I guess I would say.
Yeah. And such another, brilliant point, Jamie, just to your point there, that idea of being visible to the same audience over and over again. And I think that's another thing where a lot of people, because they haven't studied business, they don't know what they don't know. So the first thing that comes up is, well, how do I expand? And some people might even be watching this and listening going, well, how about this? I was told, and I know that if I post and I get likes, then that is growing my audience. They think that's the only way to grow an audience. And in most cases, it's not. That's not an effective way to grow your audience. You don't grow your audience. And again, it comes back to that idea of, but if I just get that one post that goes viral, then 20,000 people will know about me. No, they won't. They won't. You've got to have other strategies. And again, that comes back to the science and the art of building and growing a business. So how do I build my audience? What are the multiple layers and multiple strategies and tactics that help me grow my audience? So that as I put out content that is relevant to that audience, the audience is growing, and so is the relevancy and the interaction with the content. So it all works together. There's no magic,
There's no magic wand.
No magic wand. No, no. What's the expression with the pony? No secret pony that you jump on and ride the one pony and it's gonna ride into the sunset. Yeah, the magic wand.
No magic wand, just the one I'm holding. But yeah.
So
that's a good opportunity for us to promote our MAP workshop, because this is what we talk about.
Yes.
And so if you're anybody out there kind of in that place of I'm putting out content, I'm in a visibility vortex, help me.
Yes.
You guys are speaking my language and I need some help because I'm posting and nothing's working. So, or you're not posting, one or the other. So I'll let you do a little mini commercial, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Jamie. That's what the 5-day map is all about, is not just that one little piece, but this idea of what do I not know that I don't know? How am I in that, if the conscious competent model, where am I unconsciously incompetent? I don't even know what I don't know. And that's what MAP is all about. And the biggest piece, if we can kind of put a broad brush on it, and that's where we go in depth and then break that out, is I don't know the elements of building a proper business. Because you can't just say I'm a coach and then just assume that all the knowledge of building an effective coaching business is going to be poured into your head. Yeah, you may have the certifications and the technical training. That's great. You'd be a good employee for somebody as a coach. And that, if that's your goal, probably isn't. You wouldn't be on this listening to this live now. You'd be out there putting your resume out, hoping that you could get a job for an organization and maybe a coaching company or maybe a corporate, some corporate environment where they want to hire coaches. So that's as far as your technical skill is going to take you. But if you want the freedom that comes with being self-employed and designing your own path and creating your own path, then business skills are the next step. And that's what's imperative. And that's what we go over in the 5-day map. It's free. And our objective there, really, we're kind of on a mission to clean up the industry, if you will. And I don't want this to come across as negative or nasty or anything, but our mission is to stop having so many people out there struggling and, in a sense, bringing a bad reputation to the industry because they haven't developed the skill of running a business. So, like we've talked about in this call, commoditization, all of these things that just lessen the value that coaching brings to the world. And in order to do that effectively, you need to build a business around that. And that's what we talk about in MAP. And the other thing about MAP, to be totally transparent, is it's an opportunity to kind of look at the elements of that and go, yeah, I'm willing to put in the work. This is what I want. Or no. And so instead of living in this void of uncertainty and also this void of false belief of thinking, if I just keep putting content out there, eventually I'll get a viral post and the world will beat a path to my door and I'll have clients, listed long, into the future until I die. Instead of living in that fantasy land and being in that vortex, at least when you come to MAP, at the end of it, you can go, yeah, I get it. I now know what it takes. And I'm willing to do what it takes. Mm-hmm. Or I'm not. And that's the ultimate outcome that we're looking for is we want to get people out of the vortex of fantasy.
Yeah.
And move them into a space of, now I know what it takes and I'm willing to do what it takes to make this, because there are a lot of people out there that are willing to do what it takes and they have thriving, successful coaching practices. And we want to see more of those.
Yeah. I know we all think, if I just have a laptop and an internet connection and I will have a successful business. I just know it. And it doesn't go that way. It just doesn't. So, yeah. So we're scrolling across the bottom. If you want to join us, our next one is August 18th. So you got plenty of time to get that on your calendar and mark. It's a 5-day workshop, by the way, 5 days free. Yeah. We're going to give you lots to really digest and take action on.
And it is, and Jamie always likes to highlight this, I'm surprised you didn't, is that word workshop. So this is not
it's not
a webinar. It's not a sales pitch. It's a workshop. And we spend typically every day, we depending on what time zone you're in, you could even consider it a lunch and learn. Every day we spend anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes, if you will. So, be prepared to set aside some time to be with us. And then you'll have the work to do after, which you can do at your leisure. And we do it in a building sequential manner. So each day builds on the next. So you've got some homework, we'll call it. So you've actually got some practical exercise that you can do each day that will help you move closer and closer to the outcome that you're looking for. And that by the end of the week, you're going to know what it takes to build an effective coaching business. This ain't rocket science. Successful businesses have been around us for hundreds of years, and we just need to get focused on it, shut down the noise, all the banter, all the the ideas that are out there, and focus in on the core foundational principles of building an effective business. And that's what we do in MAP. And we try and inject some humor and some fun into that too, so it's not all a slog.
It's interactive. It's interactive. Yeah, it's a workshop, but also fun and interactive. So
yes.
We get you up and moving.
Yeah. Come with your pad, your notepad, and your pen in hand, and your fingers on the keyboard, ready to participate in the chat and to engage, because that's where things happen.
Play in the sandbox with us.
Yes.
All right. So we will wrap here. By the way, if you are seeing this as a recording later on and you want to post a comment, you have a question, please do. We monitor all of our platforms so that we always are responding to any questions or comments anywhere that we see them. So please do engage with us, even if we're not here live.
Come play in the sandbox with us, whether you agree, disagree, or have another idea that you want to share based on today's topic. And again, we'll wrap here, just reminding you that the topic today was the visibility vortex, why showing up more and more and more isn't getting you clients or getting you the business, attracting you the business that you want. So do play in the sandbox with us. We love it. We love it. Yeah.
Have a great rest of your day, everyone. And we'll see you all next week, next Wednesday at noon Eastern time, right? Yeah, and 9
Yes.
a.m. Pacific.
9 a.m. West Coast, all the way across the country to noon Eastern time. If you're in the East Coast, Eastern Standard or Daylight Time, then consider it your lunch and learn. Set aside, grab a sandwich, grab a coffee, and come join us.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks,
Right.
Jamie.
You're welcome. Bye, Mark.
Bye.